Okay, welcome Front Row. I'm really excited to be here with you. We're going to be talking about this survival guide to modern freelancing, and that might, I feel like that title's a little bit cringe, but the industry has changed. It's changing a lot, and the way that you do things now as a freelancer to be successful, to build a business, is not the way that maybe you did them 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe not even 2 years ago. So these are a couple of points that have helped me to really kind of stay in, like kind of come to grips and stay in tune with what makes most sense with my clients. And take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm not the fount of all knowledge. I'm just the fount of this tiny, eensy little bit. But I want to share whatever I have with you. Things that have worked for me, maybe they'll work for you. So that's kind of the idea of today. We're going to be talking about this idea, this survival guide to modern freelancing. And it starts out with this first piece. So let's just jump in. And then obviously, hello. I'm going to skip the hello slide because that hello slide's so lame. Let's talk about design. Design has changed, right? Here on the screen, you can see this is actually where I started designing. I started designing in a program called Quark Express. Ugh, cringe, insane. And then to the right, you have like a modern design tool like Figma. And with this comes not only the change of tools, but comes the change of process, of workflow, of the way that we think about design, the amount of time we have to spend on design, or even the way that we approach starting a new project or working with a client. Can we use something like Figma's first draft? Are we going to lean on AI? We'll talk about more stuff like that as we move through the presentation. But design has changed in the last 10, 12, 15 years. Let's talk about the next one, right? Code. Code has dramatically changed. You can see here on the left, this was me, right? When I started doing design and really quickly moved away from print into web design. And then I fell in love with the web. So I started coding. I hand rolled all of my own websites. I coded everything, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, every new language that came out. I needed to stay updated with it. It was just part of the process. But nowadays, look to the right? Like we have Framer that's sponsoring this event. I've moved all of my client work away from every other platform over to Framer because I don't want to hand roll. I don't want to have to code like websites from scratch, right? I don't want to have to think about dependencies and kind of connecting everything in my GitHub repo. I don't want to have to do that if I'm building marketing websites, even more complex like web applications. I did a stream on my channel a week or two ago about building apps with AI. I used new tools like VO from Vercel and Lovable and, all of these different tools. So there's the way that we approach coding has changed. So again, if you're a designer, a developer, a freelancer of any kind, things have changed. But here's what's really interesting. We have to ask ourselves this question. How has freelancing changed? Based on the context we've just given, so much has changed. Platforms, the pursuit of like having a creative career, the way that we go about it, workflows, processes. How exactly has freelance changed? And how do we have to like maybe shift our perspective a little bit to think about those changes, to make sure that we're in the right space? I would love to hear your comments and your thoughts. And yes, I'll answer them at the end, but if you got a quick one, I'm looking at the chat right now too. So if you got some sort of thought, please hit me up there. Let's interact a little bit. And also, I'm drinking coffee right now. Let me know, like, what time of day is it for you? What are you drinking? Is it tea? Is it something else? Let me know. Okay, so let's dive in and let's talk about a couple of things that freelancers need to do nowadays. It's 2025. And what do you need to do to survive? And here's what I would say is, what do you need to do to survive? Not only that, what do you need to do to thrive as a freelancer? I'm a real believer in not just like scraping by, but in creating a lifestyle business for yourself. The trend is moving towards freelancing. Large companies are downsizing, they're laying people off. There's a lot of tools that they're relying on, but then also there's a lot of freelancers and there's a lot of opportunity. But if you don't do it right, you're going to burn yourself out. You're not going to last very long. Maybe you're here today watching this and you've tried to freelance before, you've moonlighted on the side, it's never been a thing for you. It just never worked out. Maybe, and I hate to say it, but maybe you did it wrong, right? Maybe you weren't kind of applying yourself in the right way, directing yourself in the right way, positioning yourself in the right way. We're going to talk about all of that. Hopefully these tips can help you out. First, let's talk about a quote from Brian Tracy. He says, "In an era of rapid change, standing still is the most dangerous course of action." And that quote hits me really hard. It resonates when I wake up in the morning and I look at that quote. And when we say rapid change, we do mean rapid change, right? Just the other week, not to like harp on it too much, but a couple weeks ago, I made that live stream Talking about Lovable. I'm building an internal tool, an application using Lovable. And I've done that. I replaced an internal tool with an app that I built inside of Lovable. It's using Tailwind UI, spun it up really quick in maybe 4 to 5 hours. And then within a week, they release visual editing. Now I can select things and not prompt, but instead just change the typography, change the color, do some things. So I'm able to design right in the browser, connect it to a Supabase database. I'm doing all sorts of crazy stuff. That is as rapid as it gets. Within the span of a week or 2 weeks, I went from prompting to get something to being able to entirely design things visually. And this change is happening so much. The increment of change is happening so much more rapid than it did before. The worst thing you could do, and this quote lays it out really nicely, is just stand still and hope that it'll come back to you. This is like the guy in the 80s that had the flock of seagulls haircut that just went, you know what? I'm going to keep the flock of seagulls haircut because eventually the style will come back around. No, it's somebody out there right now has a flock of seagulls haircut and I'm offending you. I love you. I love you so much. It's not coming back around, my friend, right? And this is what's happening. If you are freelancing the way that you did 10 years ago and hoping that clients will just come back around to appreciating the way that you did it back then, and you're refusing to change, you're a dinosaur. And if you're not willing to change with this rapid change, that's the most dangerous course of action. Let's talk about the first one, okay? I got a couple of big points, and each one of these we will kind of like riff off of. Number one, this is one of the things that a modern freelancer does. A modern freelancer excels at sales, okay? It absolutely excels at sales. And this is something that has always been problematic for freelancers. It's like, it's been one of those things that you have to do, right? You have to work with clients. You have to think about sales. And the majority of freelancers are underpaid. They're not getting the right value for things. They don't know how to sell. They don't know how to communicate with clients. They don't know how to set expectations and lay out project scope and actually sell in a way that makes it beneficial. Did you know this? That the large majority of freelancers at the end of the day are making around minimum wage. Did you know that? There's only a short or small percentage of freelancers that are getting past that and actually getting paid what they're worth because they're not afraid to ask for top dollar. They understand the benefits of hiring a freelancer. They see their value and they sell knowing their value, coming from a place of value. So the majority, and I did a session about this in my design community a while back, but how sales is the skill that most designers just don't have. We love color, typography, web development, front end, Framer, Figma, all these things. But we don't love sales because it makes us feel yucky. And I don't know a better word to describe it than just yucky, right? It makes us feel gross. It makes us feel like we're ripping somebody off. And none of those things are true. You're not ripping anybody off. So maybe right now, Frontrow2025, if you're watching, you might need to realign your perspective, change your perspective and shift it to say, I offer value. And if you don't offer value, now's the time to assess why you don't offer value to your clients. At the end of the day, money is a byproduct of value that has been offered or value that has been received. It's an exchange of value. I bring you as a designer or as a creative director, as a developer, whatever. Maybe you build Framer websites. Maybe you're an illustrator. Maybe you do UI design in Figma. I bring value and I need to exchange that value. And the thing I get back is money. And the more value I give you, the more value you give me. It's fair. It makes sense. But a lot of us have confidence issues and therefore we don't excel at sales. But going forward, these are going to be the people who really excel as a modern freelancer. It's sales. Let's talk about a couple of main points here about sales. Number one, you need to believe in your product, okay? What is your product? Like I just said, maybe you make Framer websites, maybe you design in Figma, maybe you are a UX designer who specializes in UX flows and conversion. You need to believe in your product. The worst thing you could actually be is somebody who delivers a product, a designer of some sort that doesn't actually think that the thing that you provide is worth anything. Right? Of course, sales is going to feel slimy. Of course, it's going to feel cheap. You don't believe in what you're slinging. But if you're slinging something, you're like, dude, everybody should have this. It changes the way that you think about sales. Number two, you should start talking about benefits and not features. Okay. Start talking about benefits. How does the product that you actually offer, whether it's UI, UX, web, Framer, whatever it is, how does it offer a benefit to your user or to your client and not just features. CMSs, Framer as a platform, this color, this typography. Who cares? Who cares if it's built on Framer or on a cardboard box? Does it make my client money? So I start asking or talking, speaking through the lens of benefit and value. Okay, number 3, understand customer pain points. What is it that bugs you? What is it that's hurting you? What is it that frustrates you? What's the obstacle in your business that you can't seem to get past? Speak to those pain points, understand those pain points, and actually have a heart to solve people's problems. At the end of the day, sales is not slimy. Sales is actually one of the most helpful things you can do, because sales is showing somebody, I care about you and I actually have the solution to your problem. I would love to alleviate your pain. I want to alleviate your pain. I can help you. Other people can help you, but I know that I can help you. And here's how I can help you. Here's the value of how I can help you. And here's what helping you looks like. Man, I love it when people help me. I have an executive assistant. I have a video editor. I have a couple of other people on my team. I hire designers and they help me accomplish what I need to do. And man, is it wonderful when they help me, right? But so many of us don't actually believe in ourselves, believe in our product. We don't know how to talk about the benefits of how we can help people, and we don't speak to their pain points. Number 3, understand your target market. We're going to talk more later about niching down and getting specific, but understanding your target market, who are they? What do they care about? What are their hopes, goals, dreams? And the more that you can understand them, the more you can empathize with them. And again, we talk about a lot as designers. We talk about empathy in the framework of design, empathize with your users, but we don't actually take that for some reason, the majority of us, and then place it over here. We don't empathize with our clients, right? Think about it. Like, let's say I'm building a website for a local laundromat. Their website sucks. It doesn't have the address on it. They're not getting the type of business. What do they need? What's their daily issue, right? Is it machines breaking down? Is it, people not being able to find them? Is it bad signage? How can I help them? I need to empathize with them and the thing they're struggling with. Number 5, sell solutions, not services. I think so many of us, especially if you're transitioning away from being a full-time employee over to being a freelancer, there's a little bit of a disconnect that happens for the modern freelancer, where we think we could just go on talking and selling solutions, websites, business cards, logos. Those are solutions, and those are services. They're not necessarily solutions, right? So the logo is a solution to what? The website is a solution to what? These are the questions that we start asking ourselves and that we start learning how to provide for our clients. And then lastly, we need to speak in their language. Here's the really hard thing, is everything we've just talked about, right? Believing your product, benefits, customers' pain points, target markets, all of those are buzzwords, and those make sense to us, but they don't make sense to our clients. I don't want to speak in buzzwords. I don't want to speak in tech jargon. They don't care about AI, Framer, Webflow, whatever. They don't care about those. What they care about is it going to make me money? Is it going to make my business flourish? Is it going to make me suffer a little bit less? Yes. Speak to people like people. Okay. People are asking where to find clients. Trust me. Listen to the following points we're going to talk about. It'll help you find clients, I promise. Okay, let's move on to the second point here. A modern freelancer is an expert strategist, right? And I think, again, this is one of those big disconnects. We don't love doing sales, and we think that if we provide pixels, that we're providing some sort of value. And at the end of the day, here's the hard part, and we're going to talk about this more later, but pixels are no longer the valuable thing. Because why? AI is starting to design pixels. If you're a product designer and you can't design as well as Tailwind UI or Shad CN or any of these kits that are coming out, it's problematic for you, because we have a kit that's built that somebody could just open up and start assembling like Lego blocks that works better than my stuff. So here's the crazy thing though. There's a lot of ugly products and websites that are selling successful, and they paid somebody to do it, and that person made good money. There are people right now that can design circles around me. Probably plenty of you can. I've never claimed to be the best designer ever. I don't care about winning awards, and you shouldn't either. What you should care about is being a great strategist and actually helping people. Here's the truth. It's going to break all of our hearts. Ugly stuff can sell. Ugly stuff can be valuable. Ugly stuff can be useful. And we don't like to hear that, because we just believe that if I just get better, if I just keep pushing pixels, somehow that's going to equate into dollars and success for me as a freelancer. but it's not always that case, right? Sometimes, every once in a while, there is the case. But I will tell you, the path to victory, there's a very thin margin or a very thin pathway to victory or success as a freelancer that's about skill, that's about you being the best. It's a very narrow path. But the broad path, the big path, the easy path is one of value, and it starts with strategy, okay? So the modern freelancer is an expert strategist. Let's talk about strategy a little bit. How do you do strategy? What the heck is strategy? Well, number one, we need to shift our messaging when we're talking to clients on our websites. Our websites, portfolios, case studies, and conversations with clients should no longer be about the deliverable. It should be about the value that we bring. It should be about, and you're going to see this later, it should be about business goals that we have here, right? Connecting our work to business goals. So shift our messaging. This means right now, go look at your website. Your website or portfolio should not say, I'm such and such a person that does this type of deliverable. Web design, right? Product design, UI design, UX design. No. I am a type of thing, type of creative, type of, business or service provider that provides what? Conversion results, revenue results, traffic, leads, income, revenue, repeating revenue. You're that person. So start speaking. The messaging has to shift to what you know how to do. Maybe you can look back through the matrix or the funnel of all, or excuse me, the scrapbook, so to speak, of all the work you've done, the portfolio of your work. Try to figure out, try to draw some threads out of the type of value that you've brought. And again, none of that value is how pretty it is. If your message is I make pretty stuff and make bottom dollar for it, that message sucks. And you need to shift your message to I am this person that provides this value, and the value will come. The clients will come. So people are asking, how do I find clients? You speak to their pain points, you message correctly, and make sure you're speaking in the terms of value. Then how do you do strategy? You have to lead with discovery and strategy. You can't lead with inspiration, visual direction, blah, 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 blah. If you're not speaking to or sussing out or inspecting and investigating business issues. Now, this is what's really crazy. Somebody might come to you and say, hey, I need a website. And they just heard they need a website. Their friend, they own a coffee shop, and their friend who owns a business, a barbershop down the road, has a website. They don't have one. Apparently, I'm supposed to have one. That's bottom dollar thinking, right? But top dollar thinking is, why do you need a website? Well, I don't really know. Well, let's talk about your business, right? I need to do some discovery to come up with a strategy, right? Because I can make you a website for a million different reasons. A website could be to get online traffic, to get organic content created and lead people to something, the top of funnel sales. Maybe people don't know where you're at and you need to get them to your physical location. What's the reason? And the reason will always map back to some sort of business goal, right? What are you trying to accomplish? Well, here's some great strategy questions. How much is your business making? How much did your business make last year during Q1? And how much would you like your business to be making? What does viable success look like to you? How can I help you with that? What's crazy about this is you start to realize your ego. Somebody said no ego-driven design. Your ego goes down when strategy goes up, and you realize that design is nothing more than the vehicle to help businesses flourish. You have that skill. You have that vehicle. You know how to drive that vehicle, and you know how to drive progress and business goals forward using that vehicle. But the vehicle itself is not the solution, right? A coffee shop doesn't need your vehicle. The coffee shop needs you to put them in the car and drive them to success, proverbially speaking. So that's what we need to do. Connect our work with business goals. What are you trying to accomplish? How can I help you do that? What are other people in your space doing to find success? Okay, next, offer full solutions, not just deliverables, right? A solution is how this is not only, let's take a website, for instance, how this website that I built in Framer is going to get launched. Boom, I've launched it. It's up online. That's not a solution. That's a part of the solution, right? That's a deliverable. But this website that'll go up will help us to do what? How will it execute? What's the marketing plan? What's the strategy for using this deliverable to do something? But we need to be the people to do that. We are the captains of the ship. And here's what's crazy. A lot of people come to me and they say, I have really bad clients. No. If you have a bad client, it's because you haven't established yourself as the captain of the ship to say, I know when to turn left. I know where we're going. I have the map and I know where we're navigating. Do you understand? Everybody, what people want, what clients want is to hire the captain to do the work for them. Some of them come and they have trust issues. Some clients might come, they've had bad experiences and they feel like they need to be the captain. But if you show up, demonstrate a portfolio or case studies or experience of you captaining well, it starts to lower their stress levels. It starts to increase their trust with you and say, maybe, oh, thank God, maybe this person could be the captain of my project. Maybe this person is the solution I'm looking for. There is so much value in peace of mind and hiring somebody that is trustworthy, capable, and willing to steer the ship for you. Because here's the truth. Business people are great at, hopefully, doing their business, selling coffee, booking trips, whatever the business is that they have. They want to do that. That's why they got in business. They didn't get into business to build websites or create social media content, right? That's your thing. And your business helps their business flourish. So they don't want to be masters of all that. And if you can help them to see that they don't have to be, and that the investment in you can actually relieve them from having to be, so disoriented and dispersed or divided in their pursuit, they can get back to doing what they love. That's so valuable. But you have to show them a solution, a full solution, not just deliverables, okay? Lastly, how do you do strategy? You need to use case studies to prove impact. You need to build trust, social proof. There's a lot of things I could say here. I could riff on and on. Build a personal brand online. Start posting things geared for your target market online, Instagram, Twitter, social media, LinkedIn, whatever. Do that consistently to build some trust and social proof, right? Or how about just get great testimonials and add those in your case studies. Add metrics and value into your case studies to show that, yes, it's not just a pretty design. It's not just about my process. It's about the solution and the value that has been added. You should have a value-based portfolio and case studies. This is so much more valuable for clients. Let's move on to the next point here. The modern freelancer, doesn't fear AI. They use AI. And here's where I want to stop and just tell you a little story. This is a very American folk tale called the story of John Henry. The story of John Henry goes like this. John Henry was a railroad worker. He would build railroads. He was the biggest. He was the strongest. He was the best at building railroads. He could build it faster than any man alive. And then some technology came along, the steam engine, and the steam engine could build railroads supposedly faster than any man alive. And out of his pride, out of his ego, he decided to challenge the steam engine in a race to see who could build more track fastest, longest without quitting. And guess what? At the end of the day, the steam engine won, and John Henry worked himself so hard that he died. Now take this idea, take this great American folktale and apply it to your freelance career. You can either challenge AI, you can resist AI, you can try to do better than AI. But the question is, what would have happened if John Henry partnered together with technology, leveraged the technology? What would have happened if he would have used it and all of its capabilities and joined it with his own abilities? I would say that the country would have flourished in that tale, that more railroad would have been built, that more people would have been benefited had he put his ego aside and started to leverage the technology. And so, yes, a modern freelancer does not fear AI, but instead they use AI. So ask yourself this question: why are you afraid of AI? Or are you afraid it's going to take your job? Are you afraid that it's better at doing X, Y, and Z? Is it starting to take away some of the market share of your skill sets? It's not a time to blame AI and curse, Sam Altman from ChatGPT and Elon. It's not time to curse the skies about how AI is changing. This is not the plot line to Terminator 2, right? It's not going to take your job. But what will happen is you will lose your job if you don't start to leverage and use AI. I use AI in so much of my workflow that it's crazy. And again, I don't replace my human touch, the ability to strategize, because here's one thing. Yes, AI can do a pretty decent job, but it will never be human. It will never be able to get on a call like this with me and you as my client, listen to you, empathize with you, and use my experience on how this is actually played out with other people. Now, it might be able to gather lots of information and give you something, but there's a difference. Like right now, at least right now, AI is offering suits off the rack at Men's Warehouse at a lame suit store. They're not custom fit, they're not custom tailored, but what I can offer is a fine made Italian suit, something that is very tailored to my users' needs, to my clients' needs. I listen to them, right? And I leverage all that I have with AI, all the experience I have with AI to come up with something that's unique and different for them, that helps them specifically. And so this is going to be my big rant on AI right now. You need to embrace it. You need to use it. Otherwise, that quote that we talked about from Brian Tracy is going to come true. You're going to stand still. You're going to curse the sky. You're going to be frustrated. And at the end of the day, it's not going to serve you. It's actually going to hurt you. Let's talk about the next one. The modern freelancer is niched AF. Like is niched down to the like absolute nth degree. Okay, so this, if you don't know what a niche is a speciality, something that you do that is very specialized, very focused. And the modern freelancer is no longer, and I'm gonna hear like ready for the hot take. The modern freelancer is no longer a generalist. It just can't be, because general design has just gotten too easy, too good, and there's less room for strategy for generalists, right? So I can think of people in my kind of universe or in my kind of sphere of influence that are generalists. They're starting to be relegated to these pixel pushing kind of generalist kind of positions, and they don't have a lot of seats at the table. They don't have a lot of input. They don't have a lot of kind of captaining of the ship. So I believe that the generalist needs to go away and the modern freelancer needs to niche down in a very, very hard way. This is what Alex Hormozi, the famous business tycoon, who's written multiple books, podcasts, such and such. He says that the riches are in the niches. Now, I don't know if he actually said it or coined that term, but I that's where I read it last. I think a lot of finance bros say it, but it's very, very true, regardless of where you've heard it, that the modern freelancer does have to actually niche down. This means don't be a designer or a digital designer. Check it out. Try to think past even being something like a web designer or a UI designer. Start to think about how to be a web designer for the insert specific space, right? The education space, the nonprofit space, the coffee shop space, the yoga and fitness and wellness space. So yes, be specific in what you do, in who you do it for, and in how you do it, and in, ready for the fourth one, and in exactly what you actually deliver, what the strategy is, and what the actual, not deliverables, but value is. So here would be a bad generalist freelancer statement. I'm a web designer that makes beautiful websites for any business. That's way too general, but way more specific. Niche AF would be, I'm a web designer that specializes in making fast turnaround websites and Framer in 2 weeks for the fitness, yoga, and wellness space. And I do that to increase your monthly subscriptions for your fitness business. Wow, that is hyper specific. And the more specific you can be, it starts to become what I call the late night infomercial kind of feeling, right? Late at night, you go, hey, are you 40 years old and trying to get in shape and be consistent at the gym? There I am at 1 o'clock in the morning eating a chocolate bar going, yeah, that's me. It speaks specifically to my needs. And you might be terrified of this. You might be scared of this because you think that the more specific you get, the more clients you'll lose. But what's actually going to happen is the complete opposite. It's the reverse of that. The more specific you get, the more you shine, the more you stand out to those exact people that are looking for that exact thing, right? If I am looking for somebody in my yoga and fitness business to build me a fast website that helps me get more clients, I go, that's my guy. But or that's my designer, that's the person I'm hiring, the service provider for this. But if I see that person in a sea of generic web designers, who am I looking to? Who fits the bill? Who makes me feel comfy and happy and excited? Who makes me feel like they understand my problem more and I can trust them more with my problem? And ready? Ooh, kick this into high gear. If you have case studies that are that back that up and show me that you're in one specific genre, the wedding industry, the fitness industry, the wellness industry, the education industry. If you show me that you've done this multiple times, that takes my social proof through the roof. That makes me trust you to the nth degree. I go, take my money. You're telling me that you've helped other companies, other yoga studios to reach X amount of monthly recurring revenue because of the websites you build? Take my money. Do you see how easy it is to sell when you niche? It's so difficult to sell when you generalize. It's so difficult to sell strategy when you generalize, but it's so much easier when you niche down. Okay, so niching is the thing to do. One of the next ones is that the modern freelancer, stay with me, is a master, and I repeat, master of communication. Communication is key. And so there's no really room left, in my opinion, for you to be the timid, unconfident, imposter syndrome, leaving kind of like thoughts on the table, not describing how the project's going to work, hoping for the best, having no system or process, not captaining the ship. Here's what every good captain does. They communicate. They tell who to pull the sails, when to go where to steer the wheel, where to move the rudder, when to go to bed, when to rise, when to scrub the deck. They have plans, and you have to communicate those plans. So many of you have plans, but you don't know how to communicate those plans. This is where I've said this online a lot. Soft skills are going to be the win for you. Soft skills are actually going to start to become so important that they start to equalize with those hard skills, right? And here's the proof. The proof is in the pudding. Ready? Like, again, there's probably a lot of you watching right now that are so much more talented at design than I am, right? But maybe my skills of communication and sales and positioning and strategy have helped me to create a multi-six-figure freelancing business. And you're going, why can't I have why can't I have a great freelancing business? I want to make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year, but I'm stuck making 50 grand a year because but why? I don't understand. My designs are so good. It's because you need to increase your soft skills. And one of the big ones is communication, my friend. You need to increase communication. Let's talk about some of the skills of communication. Number one, your skills of presentation are so incredibly important. Okay, I had a client that I do primarily web design, product design for. I have them on a monthly retainer. They've been with me for coming on a year now of working with this client, and they are fantastic. And the other day, they said to me, I need a business card. They said, I need a business card like by tomorrow. Could you whip me up a business card? Sure can. I don't usually do that, but you're a great client of mine, so let me whip up a business card. Now, ready? 10 years ago, I might have just sent along some designs, but what I did and just hoped for the best. And what I would have gotten probably 10 years ago is feedback, iteration requests, change requests. I don't like this. Can you do something more like this? So what I did instead was I created 2 different business card designs. I mocked them up using a tool like Artboard Studio. I sent along beautiful assets going, this is what they could look like when they are printed. And I got a thumbs up. Thank you. These are amazing. You know why? Because presentation is everything. You can have a mediocre design, but if you mock it up, if you present well, not only visually, but if you talk through your work and present well, that skill of presentation actually takes you from maybe a 6 as a designer to a 10, to an 11. Presenting mid-work well actually increases the look, feel, value, and the perceived value of the design simply by presenting it well. Now, you can follow me online. Watch a bunch of Ryan stuff, watch my stuff, there's tons of people talking about how to present your work. But if you're not presenting your work, if you're not thinking that presentation is part of the design process, then you're failing. You're missing the mark. Presentation's huge. Let's talk next about expectations. You have to, as the captain of the ship, set expectations, right? For what the client should expect. You should expect deliverables at this time, feedback requests at this time, milestones at this time, project to be finished at this time. You're the one that has to lay out the expectations. A mentor of mine years ago told me that the key to frustration is unmet expectation. So if you want to piss people off, if you want them to be really frustrated, just don't give them any expectations and you will have accomplished your mission. But if you want happy clients, like a well-paying freelance or a successful freelance business, clients that love you, clients that come back, clients that recommend you, then you will give them expectations. Often referrals from your current clients to new clients don't come from the best visually designed work. They come from a good strategy. They come from good results. And those results are built on a foundation of the expectation that you give them, right? From service provider to client. Next, milestones and updates. You need to communicate these well. When will they come? What will they be? What can they expect? Obviously, you need to communicate deliverables well, and you need to give the client, and this is probably the biggest one, project flow and scope. Let them know how the project's going to go. Give them a 10,000-foot view and commit to that plan. Because here's the deal. I had to hire a plumber the other day. I'm not a plumber. The last time I talked to a plumber was 6 years ago when I had a problem. So when I brought this plumber over, I said, can you give me an idea of how long this is going to take, what it could cost, what's going to be the deal, what's going to be required? I need to know those things. You know why? Because I'm not a plumber. I don't know those things. And people who are building their business, they're not web designers. They're not product designers. They're not UI designers or UX designers. They don't know what that process is going to look like. So you need to become a little bit of an educator and communicate the project flow and the scope of work and what they can expect. See how so much of this falls back on expectations. If you don't know how to communicate these things, then you are, and stay with me, you're actually leaving money on the table. The better a communicator that you are, the more valuable you are, the better you're able to communicate your strategy, your vision, the value that you bring, and the way that things are going to work out. And that takes you from one of those low level freelancers, I can't break through whatever this ceiling is, to a high level freelancer. Communication skills are going to help you do that. Okay. Now there's a couple questions here in the chat, and I think it's probably time to move us into that question answer time. We got about 15 minutes left, and I'm sure that the front row team is gathering some important questions or things that they've seen. But one of the things that I see from Tama just says, how do you handle clients who provide only screenshots without clear requirements, making it hard to design something truly valuable for their business? Now, here's the crazy thing. There's a strategy for every client, and there's a need. There's a business goal for every client. At the end of the day, I only know of 3 business goals that clients have. Number 1, it's to stroke their own ego and make something pretty. Number 2, it's to increase their user base. And number 3, it's to increase sales. At the end of the day, those last 2 are kind of the same, because when you increase users, most likely you increase revenue. But it's traffic, it's revenue, or it's ego. Either one of those is fine. I don't mind any one of those as a strategy or a business goal. So first, figure out what is their business goal, which of those 3 is it, and then come up with a strategy to actually satisfy that business goal. If they just go, I want it to look better, great. Why? Do you have customers that are complaining? This is where the diagnostic technician has to come in. I can't just go, yes, okay, I'll do that. You have to start saying, why is it that you want that? Why does that matter? What kind of impact is that going to have? Always respond questions with questions, not questions with answers. Ask more, dig deeper, and figure out how you can actually help them and solve their issues or the problems they're having. That's a great question. I'm sure we got some more. Ryan, you want to bring us back and get us some more questions?
Yeah, man, absolutely. That was awesome. And I love, there was so many different goodies that I took away from that. In particular around like niching, like I love that. Something that I've actually discovered recently that I thought was kind of valuable was not only niching to an industry, but also niching to a persona, right? And a type of person. Because there can be a really interesting niche in that. An example being, say, a business owner who wants certain expectations or feels a certain way or communicates a certain way, because maybe you're not necessarily wanting to be the restaurant, menu design guy, but maybe you want that sort of client who wants something in particular that can be actually spread across multiple industries. Is that something you've seen, Jesse, where you've gone, the clients I really enjoy working with, they actually have the same trait, not because of the industry, but because of who they are?
Yeah, you can niche to anything. And here, I think, obviously, I believe wholeheartedly that the riches are in the niches, but where do you find the niche? Which niche should you attack? How deep? How hard should you niche down? A lot of those questions are actually resolved, or the answers are found in what you feel more comfortable with. Like, what type of clients do I like to work with, right? Like, who do I vibe well with? What industries do I understand? What specific problems am I really good at figuring out? So Like I know people who niche down for personality types, like who like to work with founders, startup founders who are, maybe have like ADD or like are dealing with have specific personality types, like, and you understand them. I have a great friend who niches down, and everything she does in the branding space revolves around figuring out what's the thing called where you're like a number 7 or a number 2 or a number 1, that thing. It's like a personality thing. So she does everything like through that thing. I forget what it's called. I'm having a brain fart right now. I know other people that niche specific to just industry, and everything must be in that industry. So you can niche for anything: the type of client, that client's clients, the industry itself, time frame, price container or bracket. Like maybe you want to niche down to people in the coffee shop space that only have $1,000 to spend on a website and they need it tomorrow. Like that's a niche. That's a thing you can do. Anything that speaks to a user's personality, their needs, their problems, like all of those things can be good. So again, a lot of it is based off of what you do well and how you interact well, right? Like if you love kids, don't probably, your career shouldn't be revolving around kids. But if you love kids, you're like, man, there's a bunch of career opportunities for me, right? And so you can take that same idea and apply it to your freelance career.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I loved how you touched on ego as well, and trying to like bring that out out from the client is almost a bit of a strategy. When you go and not only present work, but in these discovery meetings and actually chatting to a client for the first time, like how do you go actually trying to like bring a bit of that ego out of them and feeling like, they not necessarily control the room, but they feel like they're having their needs met?
Yeah, I think so. I'll tell a 10-second story on this, maybe 20 seconds, but I think it relates. Like when I was a kid, when I was in 3rd grade, I was really, really, really inconfident, really scared to make friends at school. And my grandfather told me this: interested is interesting. So if you can just be the most interested person, you immediately become interesting to people. You immediately become valuable to people. And I've applied that in my career. Interested people don't talk about themselves or what they're able to do or how they do things or how their business is going. Interested people ask you about what you care about and what you're interested in, what you're struggling with, and how they can help you. Do this at a cocktail party, do this with clients, but immediately anybody that you ask lots of questions to and invest your interest in, they immediately go, I really like that guy. I really like them a lot. Yeah. They're really great. You know why? Because it actually feeds off of our own ego, right? If you ask me tons of questions about me, my family, my kids, it's subconsciously my ego goes, man, I really like them. They're so interesting. And it's just because you were serving my ego, right? So serve your client's ego, ask them tons of questions. And in that, you're not only stroking their ego, you're actually digging down to the root of any issues or problems they have in their business. So I just say, be interested, be a diagnostic technician, ask more questions than you give answers. That's if you find yourself diagnosing constantly, you're a bad doctor. When you go into the doctor's office, they need to ask you what's going on. Why do you feel that way? Open your mouth. Say, let me put this thing on your. They have to do all of that. If I walk into a doctor's office and I go, I'm feeling, and they go, take these pills and go home. I go, you're a bad doctor. You didn't ask me any valuable questions. So we need to be good diagnostic technicians. That's the way that you do that.
For sure. That's why we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak.
Yeah.
Have you ever fired a client?
Yes, I do it constantly, actually. I have some frameworks set up to vet clients and to actually validate whether or not they're a good client for me. And that actually, whether it's your minimum level of engagement, it's the type of client or work or project you do, they don't fit into my niche, whatever it is, it's a free consult call. They have to get through a couple of steps to actually start working with me. And notice that when I say that, I'm positioning it as you need to get through a series of steps to work with me. I don't need to get through a series of steps to work with you. That's number one, is having confidence and boldness to say, I know that I can solve your problems. It's whether or not like I want to work with you. And you can do that even in the smallest of ways. If you're starting out as a freelancer, you don't be an egomaniac and be like, nobody gets to work with me. But you validate clients first. Every once in a while, I will have clients actually get through that validation process. I think they're going to be a good fit. And then we start diving into the work. I go, ooh, something's up here. And the way that I'm able to do that is because I have really concrete systems, processes, and requirements. And I know the reason I've built those is because I know that those work. I do my business every single day of the week, right? I build websites, I build products, I design for clients. I know what works for me and for businesses to accomplish and actually make them happy and actually make them like give referrals to me and bring me more clients. And if somebody says, ooh, I don't want to do that, I don't want to answer those questions, I'm going, oof, you're a bad client. So you get a couple of those, and I try to educate you and tell you why you need to fold into this system and allow me to serve you. It's like the old Jerry Maguire movie with Tom Cruise, like, help me help you, right? Like, if you won't let me help you after a certain amount of time, I know that doesn't matter how long we spend together, how much money you pay me, you are not going to be satisfied with the work that I do for you. If you want to just tell me to pixel push and not let me do strategy for you, you're not going to be satisfied with the work that I do. If you won't let me establish clear business goals for you and actually solve those problems, you're not going to be happy with the work that I do. And it's not worth it to me. So I will fire clients and just say, hey, it turns out we are not a match. It's not a good fit. So I'm just going to go ahead and sever the contract right now. So I think being able to stand up for yourself, know what works for you and what doesn't, and be able to validate clients, you're going to save yourself a lot of headache and heartache. And by doing that, you just make more space for the types of clients you actually do want to work with.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Being able to like dictate and own that process is extremely important. And it gives a lot more confidence, I think, in clients, for a client as well, because they actually feel like they're being supported by someone who knows what they're doing, rather than like, I think typically what happens with like younger or less experienced designers is they kind of like hope that the client guides them, but it should be the other way around, which you've touched on. But if you are in those sort of earlier stages, or you're trying to still build out your processes and trying to figure out like what works for you and what doesn't work, but you want to get to that stage where you are owning that process and you are vetting clients as they come in, and you can really figure out, do our DNAs match up? Are we going to be a good fit? Like, what are your sort of like recommendations for actually implementing that?
Yeah, I think, again, it's a lot of it has to do with the way that you actually message and position yourself. So a lot of clients end up not even tapping that button and working with me and my agency, because my website says very clearly like what type of work that I do and the way that we go about that work. So messaging and communicating my expectations right out of the gate is going to scare off a lot of people, or expressing like a monthly or a minimum level of engagement. Like, hey, listen, we build websites and products for such and such type of company and industry and niche, and projects like this start at X amount of thousands of dollars. So somebody coming to me who goes, I wanted like a $500 website and I wanted to be able to dictate and tell, they're immediately going to be scared away and go, I don't work with this person. But it's also, it's a green flag. It's a good thing for people who do see it. So that's the first level of like me kind of screening clients. But once they get there, I think having a really personal touch and conversation. So I think that calls, having hands-on with clients is the best thing that you could possibly do. And you should get good at actually reading the room. This is another one of those communication skills that I didn't have time to talk about, but it's, when you're hitting the mark with somebody, right? Like if I'm telling them price, I'm telling them expectation, I'm doing strategy with them, and they're going like, this is good. Great. I like to hear that. I'm reading body language and tone and going, yes, like they're getting me. Or if I'm saying that, they're going, and they're like really scrunched up, or they have questions, they're not sure. I go, oof, that's a red flag. You can't do that through email. Things get lost in email and text and Slack and all of that. So getting people on calls, but having a reason to get people on calls about like some sort of value that they'll get from getting on that call is tricky to do. You got to get them on that call because it's easier to read people, ask those questions, be interested, make those sales. It's very difficult through email. So my suggestion is get people to calls, because in the world of AI, man, automated LinkedIn messages, automated cold calls, automated emails, but like a specialized call or even a Loom video that says like, hey, why don't you get on a call with me? Let's talk about it, is going to be worth $1 million. I send the large majority of my clients, if they've just emailed, usually it's a call they book, but if somehow they got a hold of me, I'm going to do 10 minutes of audit on their product or on their design or on whatever it is that's in question. I do a Loom video. I talk about points. I showcase the value that I can bring. I send them a Loom video back. It's 5 minutes of my time. It's 10 minutes of my time. And it's custom tailored to them. And it makes them go, oh my God, this person's already working on my project. I like this person, right? So it's the more we get with, like, the more that AI progresses, the more personalized you can be, and calls and video and conversations are going to be the thing, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, what have you got planned for the rest of the year, Jesse? Anything exciting coming up? Anything you're excited to work on?
I'm trying to teach more people how to build what I call a lifestyle business, not multi-million-dollar businesses, but businesses that support their lifestyle. So whether they have kids and a family and they want to spend more time with them, whether they want to travel the world and be a digital nomad, my goal is to teach people the hard and soft skills to be able to do that. I'm doing all of that through my online design community called Design Champs. You can go and see more about it at designchamps.io, where we teach you not only hard skills, but soft skills, live events, community building. My goal is that people would live the life that actually fits them, matches them. And I think that the creative industry is an insanely great place to do that. So I'm really excited to empower people to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can always find me at my website, jesseshowalter.com or designchamps.io. I'm always on YouTube putting out tons of content because, again, that's part of my mission, is to encourage, equip, provide entertainment and education for people so they can grow their careers. So YouTube, and I like to tweet a lot. So you can find me on Twitter. I'm Jesse Show. That's me.